understand that there is corruption, there is sacrifice, there is cannibalism, and understand that there is corruption, there is child, there is human sacrifice, there is cannibalism, and all of these things are happening because there is a hidden elite that actually uses these behaviors as part of their religious sacrament. It actually doesn't matter whether you believe that these people exist or not. The bottom line is that they are actually advertising themselves constantly. They do it in movies. There's a whole set of symbols that you can look for in movies that show their influence. They do it in video games. They do it in television shows. They do it in music videos like crazy. They do it in awards ceremonies. And it's always in your face. Now is the time for us to get our heads out of the sand and understand that even if these things do seem unthinkable to us, there are people today who are actively practicing this. The evidence is voluminous, and really what it boils down to is that people don't want to look at the evidence because it is so upsetting.
In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is not an alien force already?
Jail, but the Epstein class freak-off parties are still going strong. It's a big club and we ain't in it. Doesn't matter who it is, if it's a musician, an athlete, an actor, or a freaking porn star, they all serve the same master. The host of the party, Michael Rubin, or should I say Rubenstein, hanging out with Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart. He's again with his two puppets, Jay-Z and Tom Brady. And to see here, just Alicia Keys making a very normal hand gesture. So that's how Lil Baby got his name. Michael Rubin was just whispering that in his ear all night. Let's not forget Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. They got to show up and support Michael Rubenstein, their Jewish brother. Hey, people's favorite rappers are nothing more than sellouts. We got DJ Calorie, Gay-Z, and Sloppy Joe. Even Donkey from Shrek and the Slender Man are paying homage to Michael Rubenstein. I wonder who runs the NBA. Oh, of course they're going to invite Palm Beach Pete just to troll us more.
Thanks for having me. This party's going to be lit!
Remember, while most of us struggle to pay for basic things like food, water, shelter, the Epstein class billionaires just continue to party.
Just because the E-Man is no longer on the scene doesn't mean all of those activities still aren't going on. But Global Mafia, welcome back to your home for non-mainstream news, the latest theories, and that hidden knowledge they don't want us to achieve. One person will never know everything, but as a collective, we gonna figure it all out. Let's kick back, have a conversation about it in the comments. Entertainment purposes only. Do your own research. Let's get to it.
The largest ancient temple in the world may have been designed using sound. The ancient Hindu were not sneaky with this. They would put it in the pillars, they'd put it on the arch, they would use flowers as cymatics. But I have never seen this before. The entire central temple appears to be a very specific, very important pattern of a frequency. And what I'm talking about is a Chladni pattern. You can make this with a bow and a piece of metal. We turn those into equations, and then you can make simulations that show you what that sound looks like. Now, if you follow me, you know I love this because I've been matching a lot of these ancient temples like Borobudur, even places like Chichen Itza, to very specific frequencies in this simulation. This one, though, is the very central portion of Angkor Wat. When we do these comparisons, we look for very major features of the architecture that line up with the nodes in the frequency. You may be thinking, no, squares are going to match up with squares, but no, a lot of the architectural features match up with the curves and boundaries created by this frequency. But this particular part of Angkor is actually very important because it measures frequency. It tells when the solstice and the equinoxes are going to occur. Now, the frequency that matches up with this architecture just so happens to be very close to the yearly cycle of the Earth. Digital timekeeping, a high-frequency oscillator's architecture, also matches Angkor Wat's. If we zoom out, the LiDAR scans of Angkor Wat showed similarities with photodiodes in camera sensors. The entire layout looks exactly like a CMOS sensor.
Also said, if you want to understand the universe, think in light and frequency. How y'all feel about it?
Square Garden, and it was officiated by Adam Sandler. That's right, officiated at Madison Square Garden by Adam Sandler. Officiated at Madison Square Gardens by Adam Sandler, who is famously known for playing Billy Madison, whose production company is named Happy Madison. Boy, do you think they're trying to tell us something? Just maybe? Remember, they were married at Madison Square Garden by Adam Sandler. Madison Square Garden, which is named after President James Madison, the 4th President of the United States. And well, here's James Madison. And here's a split screen of Adam Sandler and James Madison. And here's a moving split screen of Billy Madison and James Madison. And here's Billy Madison's wife and James Madison's wife. You notice the same exact little pouty pursed lips? James Madison's wife, Happy Madison's wife. And well, here are their faces with a split screen. Do you see that facial marking and that facial marking and that facial marking and that facial marking? Like there's a perfect square in the exact same perfect alignment in the exact same spot of their face. And then when you go over here and you see these facial blemishes, it's so nice of them to make the old paintings oh so accurate. Do you see that discoloration and that discoloration in the same spot of the face? And well, that one and that one, how they're angled, and well, it's just to the side of his eye and just to the side of his eye. How perfectly coincidental. And well, Billy Madison and James Madison, and if you find this oh so funny, it just means you're still indoctrinated, my friends. I'm sorry to tell you. And getting back to the original couple, well, welcome to my channel. And if you haven't seen it, well, I've already proven that this guy, Travis Kelce, is Alexander Majors, who literally was supposed to have died 100 years ago. The founder of the Pony Express. Do you wanna see him a little closer? Well, first, here is Alexander Majors, who supposedly died in 1900, and that's literally Travis Kelce that shows up when you search him, because they don't even hide showing you, because they just think you're too freaking ridiculously dumb to figure out that what I'm saying is the truth.
So that guy's name is the fittest flat earther. His twist is he believes that the people that are in the industry and are so-called famous are the fallen angels and reinvent themselves year after year after year and never are unalived. How y'all feel about it?
So let's back up. So why did I buy a ranch in New Mexico in 1993? Los Alamos, which was the high energy lab up in New Mexico, was losing all its scientists.
And you bought your property out in New Mexico to be near that?
Yes, because the scientists were going to be, they cut the funding for high energy physics. But the people who worked in Los Alamos would still be in the Santa Fe area. This was the same time that Murray Gell-Mann came up with the term quark, Q-U-A-R-K. He picked it out of an old poem, the word quark. But it was something, it was mysterious. So they were starting to understand in the 90s there was things that were just unexplainable. No one, Mr. Bannon, understood what it was.
And you wanted to investigate that?
I wanted to see if we could build tools so others smarter than me could help investigate it.
And that was the beginning of your concept of the Santa Fe Institute?
Yes.
And Santa Fe Institute was founded to do study in this type of...
Can these areas of strange things be described by some form of mathematics?
So you're talking about the elite, the high priest...
Of physics.
Of physics.
Yes, sir.
Which, high priest of physics, some subset of that is also mathematics.
Yes, they're both similar.
Did they create tools, or were you smarter in than the mid-aughts 15 years later than you had been then because of work that was done at Santa Fe?
No, it was great. But in fact, most of the money, most of my philanthropy in the area of can you describe things that appear to be unexplainable by mathematics, and can you fund people who have new ideas And unfortunately, when someone thinks they've been able to, there was a man, Stuart Kaufman, when they think that, okay, I figured out how to be able to predict the unpredictable, what appears to other people to be unpredictable. But my system, in those days it was called genetic algorithms, can predict what things will happen, and they all want to make money. So they use their systems to try to figure out, they know they have figured out the way to make money because they figured out the unexplainable. They try, they go bankrupt, and we start again. So with a cold view, what I've come to realize is that the attempt to mathematize, formularize, or what in your prior work, to understand what really is, in today's world, still unexplainable, is impossible.
In the deep dives that I've done and gathered, it seems like he was worried and focused on matching and putting mathematical equations to the spiritual and seeing if that aligns with the physical. He had some smart individuals around him and interested in eugenics and everything else. Let me know if y'all want me to go on that deep dive in itself.
And Jeffrey Epstein knew about it. I'm Shiva Asma, a neuroscientist and journalist, and for the past 5 months, I've been unpacking the science in the Epstein files, which includes a whole lot of scientists and a bit of nefarious science and a lot of what is going on here. But I'm a neuroscientist, so you can't fool me about neuroscience. This story starts in 2014 when Jeffrey Epstein emails the director of his island asking about trumpet plants. That seems innocent enough, right? The only thing is, that's not an innocent question at all, because there are many kinds of trumpet plants, and some kinds of trumpet plants contain this chemical called scopolamine. Now, what is scopolamine, you may ask? Well, it's this compound that basically blocks the activity of the hippocampus, which is your memory center. And in addition to making it hard for your brain to make memories, it also lowers your inhibitions and makes you more suggestible, which means you're more likely to do stuff that you don't want to do. That's so weird that that trumpet plant has this version that makes you forget everything. There's no way that that could be connected to Jeffrey Epstein, right? Well, then we have this other email. This email is emailed from a woman named Antoine Verglas to someone who then forwards it to Jeffrey Epstein. It's an article from the Daily Mail that says, scopolamine, powerful drug growing in the forests of Colombia that eliminates free will. A weird thing about this is that there is a witness statement about someone that claims that they had been drugged using scopolamine. However, I did some research into it, and apparently this person was making that claim against Diddy. So why is that in the Epstein files? I really have no idea. According to News Nation, the U.S. Drug Enforcement...
He was doing these nefarious activities with a lot of conglomerates, different nations, the most powerful individuals from every sector for decades. We can divulge into this thrive ever.
Wickedest man to ever live, Aleister Crowley, Part 4. In 1907, he would make a dedicated disciple, Victor Noriburg. The two would become lovers and immediately start performing magic together. He would also take on mistress, famous violinist, Leela Waddall. The three of them, along with Aleister's other followers, would perform theater magic. They would perform the rites of Eleusis and attempt to attract Archimedes for paying audiences. Aleister would eventually take Victor to Algeria so the two could perform Enochian magic in the Sahara Desert. This is where Aleister would get his influence on sex magic. In the incident in the Sahara, while the two men were attempting to contact a high-ranking demon called the Dweller Khoranzan, Aleister would step outside the circle, and Victor would eventually be scarred for life by the ordeal. After returning from Algeria in 1912, Aleister Crowley would write one of his most popular books, The Book of Lies. Once The Book of Lies was out, Aleister would be accused of sharing some of the OTO's most intimate secrets. He was accused of this by the leader of the OTO, Theodore Roos. After the two conversed and Aleister convinced him that it was only a coincidence, Theodore initiated Aleister into the highest degree of the OTO. Aleister would be initiated under the magical name Baphomet and would become the Grand Sovereign General of the OTO sects in Britain, Ionia, and Ireland, eventually becoming the head of the OTO worldwide. He would immediately start by reworking all the rites and rituals of the OTO, blending his own sex magic practices with the rites and rituals of Freemasonry. In 1913, Alistair would travel to Moscow, managing a dancing group called the Ragtime Girls. While in Moscow, he would write the Gnostic Mass, which is a sexual ritual that is still practiced by the OTO today. He would also publish another one of his famous works, A Hymn to Pan.
Right on for that breakdown, loved one. Let me know if you want me to do a deep dive into Aleister Crowley. Is he the most evil person to ever walk this earth? I doubt it, but they say that he's known as that. But with that being said, that's the end of this compilation. Let me know if y'all rocking with it. We getting deeper and deeper down these rabbit holes, but it's not for us to get to the end. It's for us to figure out these hidden knowledge and these passages along the way. One person will never know everything, but as a collective, we gonna figure it all out. Let me know what y'all want me to divulge into and want us to do deep dives on and get more information on. Appreciate the Global Mafia members. Shout out to the Mafia family. With that being said, make sure you put a capital K and a $ for the S.